You're in the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
With Gene and Chris, and I should tell you that we're doing this show early on a Saturday morning, and Chris has been immersed in that book, Stalking the Herd, for so many weeks that he's probably just exhausted. In fact, I hear him breathing hard.
It's more of a relief, Jane. I'm just glad that it's over.
Well, I have been forced in my life to do these production line computer books, and I've done books of 1,000 pages and more. But you have not 6 months or 15 years to write one. You have maybe 6 weeks at the most.
No, that's insanity.
There's a word for it, hellish.
I hope they paid you good.
Frankly, more than you get for a flying saucer or generic paranormal book.
Yeah.
But it's set up in such a way that you'll never earn out. What I mean by earn out, folks, is normally when you write a book, you get usually in advance against royalties. And if the book exceeds that level, they start sending you money, like every month, every quarter, every 6 months. Usually several months after they do their accounting. So you don't get the riches right away. But if the book doesn't earn out, meaning that the amount due to you exceeds what they paid you, you see nothing. And in computer books, they got down to a science. They were always within $50, more or less. So either I was $50 short, they're not going to ask for the money back, or they owe me $50. Very seldom did I ever get a really good royalty, except once I think I got like $7,000 for 1 month's sales. That was nice. That's how production line book writing works. It's not like all these famous authors who make millions. It's not like Tom Clancy, but it didn't help Tom Clancy. He died young. And
Some people say he was killed.
You think so?
He knew too much.
About what?
Well, his first book, Hunt for Red Pill Junkie.
Hunt for Red Pill Junkie. Let's explain this.
Which was turned into a major motion picture. No, Hunt from Red October, he came up with this concept of a caterpillar drive, which was a secret Russian drive system on the submarine. And Naval Intelligence paid him a visit and interrogated him, said, how did you know about this new development in submarine technology? And he had just made it up. And turns out that he had kind of spilled the beans on a classified naval project.
Ooh, that hurts.
Well, they paid attention to him after that, and he became, pretty connected on some of the highest levels in the military and, shall we say, the espionage communities.
Well, I knew him way back when. One time or 2 times I helped him with his computer. And he was using a Mac at the time. Don't know if he continued using a Mac. But I helped him with a few things like setting up a CD drive on his computer. I met him a couple of times at Macworld Expos. These are the trade shows for people who use Apple Macintosh computers. Apple no longer participates in those, but that's another story. So anyway, I met him a couple of times, and I listened to him tell stories, and he just loved to tell stories about Tom Clancy. It was all about Tom Clancy. And he didn't think much of a lot of people, I guess, who were involved in making movies of his stories. So, for example, in 2 of the movies based on the Jack Ryan character, his most popular character, Harrison Ford played the role. He didn't think Harrison Ford was very bright, to put it mildly. And he made that very clear. So that was Tom Clancy. I lost touch with him. And anyway, they have a new movie out now with Jack Ryan character featuring Chris Pine, who's also doing Captain Kirk in the new Star Trek series. It got decent reviews, but hasn't done well at the box office. So maybe that's the end of that character. There you go. Chris, we're going to be doing 1 or 2 special episodes with you about Stalking the Herd. It's now on sale. It's at the printer. It's going to be out end of February. You can place orders now, and Chris is taking orders at his site, OurStrangePlanet.com. And the reason I mentioned that over Amazon, well, 2 reasons. Number 1, Chris gets all the money. That's nice. And he'll autograph the book until his hands fall off.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Now, is there any truth to the rumor that you are going to do this ambidextrous? When your hand gets tired signing with your right hand, you'll sign with your left hand.
No, but I'll tell you, when the local bookstore in the San Luis Valley called me up after my first book had come out, and they said, we have somebody that's heading up your way. We're bringing up some books for you to sign. I said, okay. They walked in with 15 cases of books. It's the first time I ever literally got writer's cramp. And I had to stop, and like somebody had to massage my hand because there were 72 books in a case. It was ridiculous. I don't want to do that again. I want to spread it out over, at least a couple of days.
Okay, so when you order a book from Chris, it may take a couple of days to get one.
As soon as I have them, the turnaround will be no time at all. But, again, it's at the printer, so it won't be out for another minimum 3 weeks, maximum 5 weeks. So.
And it's a big book. It's 563 pages, plus what we call the front matter. And the front matter is like the introduction. It's like the foreword. That's another 10, 15 pages, the table of contents and everything.
Oh, it's about 585 pages total.
It's a thick book. It's a great read. We didn't make the type too small. Chris was saying, maybe we can have a few less pages if you make the type smaller. But I pointed out to him that then people can't read it. And you wouldn't want to have to give a copy of reading glasses.
Right. Well, most people that read books now are our age, so.
Well, that is true. That is true. We're older kind of people. But that's how it goes. So we'll have some great shows. This is the definitive work on cattle mutilations. It's not filled with a lot of crazy, unproven mysticism. It's all facts and research and stuff that you can back up.
We've got a little bit of everything, Gene. It's got some pretty crazy stuff in there as well, but it all depends on what your definition of crazy is. To me, crazy is, scientifically impossible cases that just, kind of peel your ears back. And there's a number of those in there.
Okay, well, we're going to peel back the mystery there. Speaking of things to peel back, we're going to peel back the mysteries of an interesting and really fascinating character who's a blogger. He's a very active participant in our forums at forum.theparacast.com. And we decided to get him on the show. He's known as Red Pill Junkie. And that, of course, has a lot of connotations that I don't wish to mention. But I'm going to ask you, RPJ or Red or whatever you would like to be called, and we won't call you late for dinner. How did you get that name? I mean, you weren't born as Red Pill Junkie. We know that.
No, he's a fan of The Matrix.
I'm a fan of The Matrix, but also I think that the reason I chose the name is because by 1999, which was the year that the first Matrix movie was released, I was already deep in the study of the books of Carlos Castañeda.
Do tell.
Okay. Well, for me, the similarities between the plot of the movie and the books of Carlos were too many to ignore. I mean, Neo was Carlos, Morpheus was Don Juan, the red pill was an allegory for all the power plants that Carlos consumed during his first years of apprenticeship with Don Juan. And by the end of the movie, when finally Neo starts to see the code, the falling code of the Matrix, is similar to what they call the melon knowledge or the sorcerers, how they actually perceive the universe as lines of energy and the human body as a glowing egg. So to me, that was the reason why the Matrix has such a big impact in me.
Okay, this is not the Matrix. This is a paranormal radio show. Red Pill Junkie joining us with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Neighbors, are you tired of dealing with a slow web hosting provider? Well, check out A2 Hosting and their screaming fast Swift server platform. They even have SSDs that load pages 300% faster than the competition. Ready to give your site a speed boost? Well, Tell you what, neighbors, head on over to a2hosting.com. That's A2, that's the number 2, a2hosting.com. Check out their Prime hosting account. And get this, neighbors, they're even giving you an exclusive 25% off discount for all our listeners. 25%. And remember, their Guru Crew support team is standing by 24/7, 365 days a year to answer any of your questions. Now, to get the discount, use the coupon code GENE when you check out.
Have you ever felt like the United States government knows way too much about your financial affairs? I continue to hear stories about property seizures, frozen bank accounts, confiscation of stocks and bonds. It makes me wonder if the U.S. citizen will ever again have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Unfortunately, with the Drug and Money Laundering Act, the IRS Revenue Ruling 6045 of 1984, and the Trading with the Enemy Act and Franklin D. Roosevelt's Executive Order of 1933, some precious metal holdings are subject to government intervention. For this reason, Midas Resources has prepared a report explaining the boundaries of trading precious metals privately. Whether if you have any intention of trading with Midas Resources or not, I have instructed my representatives to give this report out free. Call for your free copy at 1-800-686-2237. When investing, always proceed with caution. Again, call 1-800-686-2237. Exercise your legal right to trade metals privately. 1-800-686-2237.
Now you can get the same survival food U.S. Special Forces use on their toughest field missions. High-protein, high-energy, freeze-dried foods known as long-range patrol rations, or LRPs. Soldiers love LRP rations. They're lightweight and easy to carry. Easy to prepare by just adding water. Easy to enjoy because they taste great. Civilians love LRPs as a solution for emergency preparedness and recreational activities with limited storage space, such as hiking, climbing, sailing, or RV travel. Veteran-owned Freeze Dry Guy is your exclusive source for this 2013 U.S. military overrun. Long on nutrition, these delicious entrees have a long shelf life, lasting decades. But this rare opportunity, this limited supply, will not last long. You have to act now. Call 866-404-3663, 866-404-FOOD, or log on now to freezedryguy.com, freezedryguy.com.
It's no secret that silver is one of the oldest known natural antibiotics, but the mainstream media will never tell we the people this information. Why? Many drug companies and politicians have dangerous alliances that manipulate the way we live by prescribing drugs that only manage disease, keeping us dependent on big pharma. And with Obamacare at our doorstep, we are now forced into a system that many of us do not want any part of. And no man or government has the right to dictate how we as free people choose to take care of our health. The patriots at utopiasilver.com hold this truth dear. Colloidal and ionic silver supplements from utopiasilver.com open the door to a whole new world of natural healing for the body and the mind. Visit utopiasilver.com and discover the safe and effective health benefits of colloidal and ionic silver. Call 888-213-4338, 888-213-4338, and talk to the patriots at utopiasilver.com, a leading source of natural healing using colloidal silver, colloidal gold, minerals, vitamins, and herbs. utopiasilver.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
Our guest this week is Red Pill Junkie. And people are going to look and say, who's that? Well, he happens to be fellow who blogs about the paranormal, fellow who's very active in our forums and elsewhere around the internet. But the big question here, Red or RPJ, is do you actually have a day job that you actually earn a normal living, or are you just an online person?
Oh, yes, I definitely have a day job. And I'm an interior designer. I work for a small architectural company. We do many projects ranging from, residential projects, remodeling to furniture design.
I was an interior designer, but it was point of purchase display for a high-end electronics company. We have that in common.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked it. It was a fun job. I got to be creative and made some really good money. So, which I spent chasing after dead cows.
There you go.
Later on, didn't matter how much I saved; it was gone. But I've seen your stuff online for years now, and what's always struck me is whenever I I see you're that hand with the red pill in there, which is kind of your avatar. I always pay attention because I always know, and you're one of very few people I can say this about online. I always know that whatever the subject is that you've responded to, that I'm going to get a very well thought out, reasoned response or comment. What exactly do you think is going on with the paranormal? Let's kind of cut to the chase. What sort of background do you have in the subject? You're obviously very well read. And what do you think's going on and why?
Well, as for the background, as you said, and first of all, thank you for the kind comments. Well, I'm a person who likes to pay attention, who goes from side to side, reading and absorbing as much as I can. And then I guess all that absorption eventually gets fermented in my head, and helps me to come up with my own perspective on things. And as for what's going on in the so-called paranormal, a term I particularly loathe, it's because it's so deceiving. It either means something that is outside the range of the laws of nature, which time and time again, every phenomena that we think that it cannot be explained by nature, we eventually tend to do it, to incorporate it into our little tidy model of what the universe is and how it should behave. And also the other thing about the paranormal is that it can also could imply that it's something very outside the quote-unquote normal range of human experience. I'm sure that for people like you and me who are deeply invested in these phenomena, we could attest that that's just not the case. You go to a conference or maybe somewhere like the Paradigm Symposium that I have been lucky to attend on both occasions. And once you get acquainted with a person and get familiar with you, and it's comfortable enough to open up, they start to tell you all these very interesting ideas with maybe things that happen to them personally or things that happen to someone close to them. So you easily realize that these so-called paranormal phenomena are a very important and neglected part of the everyday life.
Let's kind of go back to the beginning here of your focus about things that are strange, things that are unusual. Have you had personal experiences in your life that also help move you in this direction?
Nothing overtly dramatic, I mean, as a child of the 80s, someone who was deeply influenced by all the big blockbuster movies, from Steven Spielberg, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, and all that. I always wanted to have, that close encounter experience or something like that. But UFO sightings, maybe I've only had it twice. Nothing overtly spectacular. The last one was just when I had returned from the Paradigm Symposium, and it lasted just maybe even less than a second. I saw a small light in the sky that had a very peculiar movement, something that could not have been easily explained as an airplane or something like that. But, well, it was just that, just a light that I cannot explain. I'm not going to jump in and say, oh, it was a Pleiadian beam ship, saying hello. What other types of things I've experienced? I've experienced a lot of lucid dreaming that was prompted by my readings of Carlos Castañeda. That was the one who put in me the idea of trying, to have a lucid dreaming, and I guess it kind of worked because on several occasions I have managed to attain that level of lucidity. Also, people who are interested in this know this, that when you start to pay attention, a lot of synchronicities start to pop into your life. But basically, that's about it. I've never had a chance to have a really close UFO sighting or seeing something in the woods that I cannot explain, or seeing some kind of ghostly apparition. Most of my experience has been, I guess, purely academical.
Well, looking at the personal experiences, or the desire for personal experiences. Now, when I describe my situation, I'll say maybe once or twice something might have happened. Like I had a UFO sighting once, but it could have been anything. Nothing's really detailed enough to indicate something that was really unusual. And one other time with my first wife, we were asleep and she awakened me to tell me that she saw a water elemental. And I saw some kind of shadowy thing in the distance, but, my eyes were unfocused, my glasses weren't on. Who knows what we could have seen. Regardless, that's it. I have never had the desire to see anything more, for obvious reasons, because you hear so many of these stories about harm coming to you. Either your psyche is completely upset, or we have cases where maybe people suffer some kind of radiation effect if they come into proximity of a UFO. We're going to be breaking for a moment, Red, but the question I would ask you, and then to ponder this when we bring you back, you've had a couple of things happen to you. Do you have a desire at all, a burning desire or other desire, to actually come up close and personal with a UFO, a ghost, a cryptoid, whatever? Red Pill Junkie is the guy's name. And you're on with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Great minds think alike. The network for the independent-minded. The Genesis Communications Network. GCN.
If you want to get your website online and you need reliable service, first-class service at the lowest possible price, there's only one place to go. Well, DreamHost has a special promotion with our show where they'll offer you unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, one-click web apps such as WordPress, 24/7 support. You can save over $55. You want to know how? Go to dreamhost.com/radio, dreamhost.com/radio.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
This alert just came in. This special announcement is for business owners and leaders of organizations who've been waiting for the right time to build. General Steel has made it impossible to wait any longer with rock-bottom prices that could save you thousands. That's right, General Steel, America's leader in pre-engineered structures, is offering buildings at prices you will never see again. Don't miss these prices. A 50 by 100 for under $30,000. You heard right. That's 5,000 square feet under $30,000. Manufacturers, if you need a larger building, try a 100 by 100 commercial building for $129,000. You can't afford to rent with these prices. Imagine a 70 by 100-foot church building for under $69,000. With the economy improving and interest rates still at historic lows, you can't afford to wait. So call 866-91-STEEL. Lock in your price now. Take delivery in spring. 866-91-STEEL. That's 866-917-8335.
We live in a complicated society. Stressful issues are always popping up. Have you ever been treated unfairly by someone? Have you ever been overcharged for a repair? Have you ever signed a contract or a document? Worried about identity theft? How many times have you been in those unique situations where you just wanted to call an attorney to find out if you're right or wrong, or what your legal rights are? But every time you think about calling an attorney, what do you think about first? That's right. Who do you call, and how much will it cost? Our friends at Legal Shield have found a solution. With a nationwide network of 6,900 attorneys who average over 19 years of experience, Legal Shield's law firms take over 40,000 calls per week helping their members. For less than $20 per month, you can have access to Legal Shield on everything from the trivial to the traumatic. Let Legal Shield stand up for your rights at lsprotection.com. That's lsprotection.com. Or call 855-340-SAVE, 855-340-7283.
Question: could too many GMO foods and toxins be overloading your digestive and immune systems? Answer: yes. If you're searching for a powerful detox that's gentle enough to use every day, use Pro EM1 from Terraganics. Pro EM1 is a powerful liquid probiotic that uses good bacteria to suppress pathogens and gently eliminate toxins from your body. A healthy digestive system will cleanse and remove toxins, support weight loss, improve absorption of food nutrients, and aid in controlling yeast and other infections. Pro EM1 is made with only non-GMO and certified organic ingredients, has no preservatives, and is dairy, soy, wheat, and gluten-free. Pro EM1 is the key to your digestive health. Order Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse at Terraganics.com, spelled Terraganix.com, or call toll-free 866-369-3678. That's 866-369-3678. Also available through Amazon Prime. Pro EM1 from Terraganics. Life's getting better.
Hi, this is Don Ecker, and you are tuned into the Paracast. Let me tell you what, you're going to hear stuff here that you probably won't hear anywhere else. Hear that, George Snorri?
If Chris sounds tired, it's actually relief from writing that massive work, Stalking the Herd. And the difference between him and me is that I've written production line books about computers that take just weeks to complete. He's got something there that is a decade and a half research and a lot more. Red Pill Junkie is our guest, an active participant in our forums, an active blogger on the paranormal. And the question I asked him before we broke, do you have any burning desire or otherwise to have a paranormal encounter? Red?
Yeah, sure. I've always had the desire to see a UFO up close, but unfortunately it seems that the phenomenon has actively eluded me. And I remember one time several years ago when my family took a road trip to a place called Tlaxcala here in Mexico. And I don't know, they asked me if I wanted to come along. I said no, I wanted to stay, I don't know, play video games and whatever. And when they returned, they told me that they saw a UFO. They saw a weird, bright light in the sky where there was nothing, for miles ahead in the highway. In the road. It almost felt like the goddamn UFO was, flipping me the finger in the sky and say, you want to see some of this? Well, you ain't getting anything.
Oh, no, what's up with me? I guess it's where you live and hang out. And if you spend time out actively looking in the San Luis Valley through the 90s, I could have 4 or 5 sightings in one night of different events. I don't know what it is, but ever since I moved there, I have had quite a number of good sightings, including one that just really was quite startling. Broad daylight traveling down Highway 69 in the Huerfano Valley, this little 10, 12-foot scout ship went zipping right across about 150 feet away, about 50 feet up. And, it was impossible. I thought it was a model plane at first, that it was a little bit, that was really close. And then I realized that it was probably 50, 60 feet away and much bigger. And from that point on, boy, I've had dozens and dozens of sightings. Of course, it probably helps to have a network of people that call you up and say, hey, it's coming your direction, run outside, look in this direction, look in that direction. So having a network of skywatchers is probably the best way to create, some form of phone chain or something that can alert others when things are flying around. And fortunately, I've been able to get some videos, a few photographs, but it's very, very difficult. Most of the time, it just happens when you least expect it. It can be startling, and you tend to freeze up and just kind of fixate on whatever weirdness it is. And then all of a sudden you're shocked into action to grab a camera or attempt to document it, which I find over and over again is people's reactions. Even someone like a Ray Stanford.
Don't you think that there are some people that might act as some kind of magnet for the phenomenon? Because if I recall correctly, you yourself had a very startling experience when you were very young.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe they've somehow marked me or something. I don't know. I've had 2 really good sightings here since I moved to the Sedona area. One was broad daylight. It looked like a giant 30, maybe 40-foot chicken egg, a white chicken egg flying up Oak Creek Canyon. And there were a bunch of campers in the hikers rather in the canyon that also saw it and reported it. So other than that, it's been pretty quiet around here. I don't really count indistinguishable lights in the sky anymore, really, unless they're groups of lights that seem to be flying in formation or appear to be a lit up large craft. There's so many, nocturnal light sightings around here that are misconstrued. They're planes putting on their landing lights, or the space station going over, or various satellites. But boy, I've seen some of Ed Grimsley's footage of some good night vision. Almost any night you go out, you'll see something unusual flying around that you can't see with the naked eye.
A fast question here, that you've had so many of these encounters. Do you ever feel, Chris, that you're being singled out by them? I'm being serious here.
Yeah, I know you are. No, I don't. I think I just happen to be in the right place at the right time, and I'm constantly looking. When I go outside, I don't smoke inside my house. So when I go out to have a smoke, I'm constantly, my head's on a swivel. Whenever I move to a new area, I research and find out where the predominant, the areas of highest incidence are and where sightings are predominant. So therefore, I generally focus in those particular directions or areas. I dovetail my efforts with other researchers, for instance, here in the Sedona area, Tom Dongo and several others who've been here for years. They kind of have a sense of where these things are normally seen. And so I get myself as up to speed as possible, but I don't think I've been singled out. I think I'm just really very observant. I'm always looking. And that's, people say, how come you get to see so many UFOs? Because I look. Most people rarely look above eye level. And unless you're actually paying attention and looking and keeping up on whether there's been sightings reported in the area and network with people, if you do those things, you increase the odds of having a sighting experience.
Well, that creates the impression here that you probably believe in what's called the publicity flap. When you have a wave of UFO cases, it's not because the UFOs are here in a greater frequency, it's because more people are looking for them.
Well, the classic example, and I think RPJ would agree, is the 1991, I think, Mexico City eclipse.
Yes, in July 19th, 1991.
Right. Everybody was out looking at the eclipse in the daytime, and lo and behold, I think at last count, it was 8 videotapes were taken of these silver orbs that were seen by people. They were able to triangulate and get actually some pretty good information from these various videos that were done unbeknownst to one another as people were watching the eclipse. I remember that was a really big news story down there, and it actually became a news story up here.
Yeah, I mean, it really began a very, very active flap over here in Mexico. The UFOs became a very, very hot topic.
Yeah, especially when Jaime jumped in there.
Yeah, I mean, I remember there was this talk show, TV program called ¿Y usted qué opina? On Channel 2 with this guy, Nino Canon, and there was this night when Jaime Maussan and other people were talking about UFOs. The program started about 8 o'clock p.m. on a Friday night, and it ended next Saturday on 7 a.m.
Wow.
11 hours they were, and the reason they had to cut the program because the news program was about to start, so they couldn't go in the way of the channel schedule. And yeah, back in those days, Jaime Maussan was, the idol of many people. I must admit, including me. People were younger. The younger generation were really reacting to his message. When the skeptics started to question him, the people in that program started to boo them. It was kind of crazy, like a lucha libre match or something.
Well, I would say, especially early on, Jaime's, I think he was pretty much believing anything that looked strange. He would jump on it and promote it as something high strange and as a UFO. Mm-hmm. I think he's gotten a little better over the years. He's become more discerning and a little bit more selective in what he chooses to jump on and promote. But back in the early days, man, if it looked weird, he was all over it. I agree. I remember he got fooled by mylar balloons a few times, and photographs of birds with their wings folded in, and he wasn't very. I don't think he really had developed a critical eye until later in the late 90s, early 2000s. Then he started to pull back a little bit.
We're going to pull back for a moment here. Mm-hmm. We'll have more to come with Red Pill Junkie and Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast. Not just an alternative to the mainstream media. We're the premier independent talk radio network. We are GCN.
Is there a secret UFO agenda? Do strange creatures from the darkest corners of the mind roam the earth? Is there evidence for mind control, time travel, or devious government conspiracies? Find out the inside scoop on the latest conspiracies, paranormal activity, and Fortean phenomena when you subscribe to Tim Beckley's Conspiracy Journal. It's jam-packed with stories, special book and DVD promotions, and the best news, it's absolutely free, sent right to your mailbox. Plus, a bonus free email newsletter sent out every Friday. Simply send an email with your name and address to Mr. UFO at webtv.net. That's Mr. UFO at webtv.net. Find out what they don't want you to know.
Hey everyone, have you heard about the No hair removal device that's sweeping the globe? If you want to go weeks without shaving and get smooth, professional quality results, here's our favorite host, Cheryl, for No hair removal.
Thanks. Hey gals, I love talking about my No. It's this cute little hair removal system that you can take with you and use almost anywhere at home or on the road. No more expensive in-office treatments, painful waxing, and no more wasting your valuable time. Got unwanted facial hair? No has patented thermocon technology that works on all hair and skin colors, so it's perfect for using on all body parts. And now you can take advantage of this incredible risk-free trial. Get the No, the facial kit, a travel case, and a $100 discount shopping card, and you don't risk a penny to try it. Try the incredible No hair completely risk-free. Call 1-800-953-6062. That's 800-953-6062. 800-953-6062.
If you owe the IRS back taxes, listen carefully. Sweeping changes to IRS policies will help more people than ever eliminate their tax debts once and for all. And now I can help you reduce or eliminate your tax debts and end your tax nightmare. Hi, I'm Dan Pilla. I've helped thousands of people reduce and eliminate tax debts they couldn't pay. And after more than 30 years of experience dealing with the IRS, I can tell you there's no such thing as a hopeless tax case. And with the IRS's new policies, it's easier than ever to put your tax debt behind you once and for all. Call now at 800-346-6829 to learn how I can help you. You know your IRS debt will not go away by itself, but you don't have to live in fear anymore. Call 800-346-6829. Learn how I can help you eliminate wage and bank levies, release tax liens, and negotiate a settlement with the IRS that will put your tax nightmare behind you forever. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to taxhelponline.com. That's taxhelponline.com.
A
little over a year ago, I began to do a lot of research into why, even though I had a pretty good-sized meal, that I was still starving. And my research led me to a well-known fact that most of the soils that we grow our crops on here in the United States and across the industrialized world are almost completely depleted of almost all of the key minerals and trace elements that our bodies need to rebuild themselves, fight off cancer, and be healthy. I then searched out the best vitamin and mineral company out there and discovered Youngevity. The Youngevity products are designed to give you the real nutrition you need, and once you've got that, you don't have to eat as much to be satisfied. I've lost 37 pounds in 2 months, simply getting the vitamins and minerals I need. Check it out for yourself. It's incredible. Go to InfoWarsTeam.com today and order your first canister of Beyond Tangy Tangerine Complete Multivitamin Mineral Complex Dietary Supplement. That's InfoWarsTeam.com.
Hi, this is nuclear physicist lecturer Stanton Friedman. You are listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
I think people think when we use the name Red Pill Junkie, what is that about? Is this a show on pop culture? No, it's a paranormal show called the Paracast. And by the way, we're being heard on another venue in addition to GCN Network and online and iTunes. There's a new service out there, a streaming service called Boost Radio Network that's carrying us. So that gives you another option. It's available online. There's an app for your iPhone or your Android phone. So there you go.
Here's a shout out to all our new listeners out there. Don't forget to visit theparacast.com and become a member of our forum at forum.theparacast.com, where you get to ask questions of our guests like today's Red Pill Junkie and interact with some really smart people. We've got one of the most up-to-speed, knowledgeable online communities, I think, in the paranormal, and I can't thank all these folks enough for all their great questions and keeping Gene and I really, keeping us always thinking, always on our feet.
Speaking of which, we got quite a few questions for Red Pill Junkie. He's one of the most popular people in our forums. He's always there with great comments. And maybe we'll sprinkle some of those questions through the episode. In fact, Chris, if you want to start right now and ask a few. You ready for this, Red?
Yeah, I took full advantage of being a member of the Paracast forum, so I read the questions beforehand.
Okay, you cheated. No, I'm not. Oh. I'm just kidding. No. We let our guests look at the forums. They have that power. I mean, I do have the power to stop it, but we don't want to explain that. Chris.
Well, you're going to love this one. In a recent column, you discussed Stephen Greer's media coverage. For the cameras, he puts on a mainstream image, while offstage, he runs a cult-like UFO organization. If we could send you back in time, what would you do to prevent the rise of Greer? And is it too late to do anything about it today?
Yeah, I know who sent that question was our good friend Kurt Collins. My answer is, my dear Kurt, if I had a time machine at my disposal, do you think I will waste the trip in Stephen Greer? I mean, the only thing that would have prevented his rise was if the aliens had actually landed in the White House, came out and said, Stephen who? No, we don't know that guy. We don't know what he's talking about.
Well, I tried. I met him very early on myself back in 93. And I told him in front of some really, super well-to-do, well-connected, rich socialites that his message was way more important than he was. Mm-hmm. And I think that anybody who's has a chance to talk to him should remember that mantra, Stephen, your message is more important than you are. And just say that over and over. Lull yourself to sleep with it. And maybe your ego will come down about 50 sizes.
Maybe if he had a real sighting of some sort, not maybe something he might make up, but if he had some real events happen to him, maybe he wouldn't be so high and mighty.
I mean, I think that complaining about the prominence Stephen Greer has today in the field, it will be akin to the researchers trying to get back to the study the beneficial study of psychedelics, if they were lamenting or regretting how Timothy Leary, set back their research 40 years, I mean, so do we blame Greer or do we blame the culture? The culture right now is, paying attention not only to the ones, the people who have the most extravagant stories about UFOs or the paranormal. So I think that Greer is not only partially to blame. Right now, I think that the mainstream culture only looks to UFOs as a source of entertainment, So if you want to have the most entertainment UFO story, you go with the people who have the wackiest tales. So hence, they only call Stephen Greer instead of calling someone like Leslie Kean or someone like, I don't know, Richard Dolan or people who will provide a more sober and a more measured message.
So basically, it's all about the cult of personality. It's showbiz, folks. So the person who is the most extravagant, the best show person, the one that can grab the ratings, that's what it's all about. It's not about the research. It's not about figuring out if we're being visited by aliens or if there's some other thing going on. That doesn't matter. It's all for the show. And that's what reality TV is, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, Kurt's question immediately reminded me of that scene in the movie Fellowship of the Ring, when Frodo and Gandalf are talking, and Frodo is regretting how Bilbo didn't kill Gollum, when he had a chance. And, maybe Stephen Greer is like Gollum, he still has some weird part in this tale that we haven't just figured out yet.
He's kind of a thin person, Stephen Greer. Does he resemble that other guy? Just think about it. Take a look at Stephen Greer. Have you seen them at the same time in the same place? I'm starting a web rumor here.
I don't know. Now that you mention it, I don't think so.
Right? Think about it, folks.
Well, while we're thinking about that, let me get on back to Mexico City, and then I have some questions for you concerning the work of Carlos Castaneda. But first, this one comes from Nameless, who has been a forum poster for a couple of years now. And he asks, in regards to the Mexico City UFO waves of the 90s, could such displays have occurred anywhere else? Or is this intrinsically linked to the nature of Mexican culture with its belief systems, mythology, psychological makeup? His kind of follow-up question to that is, does this link in with the paranormal phenomena have a quantum observer effect, with the experiencer or collective experiencers being an unconscious co-creator or protagonist? So I think what he's saying is, are these things really happening, or is it the expectations of the people in the culture manifesting these examples of waves of UFOs or other types of paranormal phenomena?
Those are excellent questions.
Yeah.
Getting back to the wave in the 90s, I think that definitely there was the effect of Mexico being way more open to the possibility of the UFO phenomenon, thanks to the work of people like, forget about Jaime Maussan. Before Jaime, there was Pedro Ferriz Santa Cruz, who is widely regarded as the father of Mexican ufology. The guy was a friend of Dr. J. Allen Hynek, and for many years he had a TV program called Un Mundo Nos Vigila, A World is Watching Us, back in the days when the phenomenon was ridiculed in the United States. In Mexico, there was a mainstream program, talking and discussing the phenomenon. So there was that. And maybe I think looking back in those days, that the early 90s was a very kind of turbulent times in Mexican society, Mexican culture. Maybe that also had something to do. I often wonder if there is an increase in UFO sightings in places where there are some kind of social turbulence, and maybe I then think of the chicken and the egg question, does the social turbulence somehow attract the phenomenon, or does the social unrest, somehow forces the people to look up into the sky more often? I don't know.
Yeah, I've often noticed that these waves tend to happen at the end of conflicts, like, for instance, the 73 wave began as we were leaving Vietnam. And at the startup phase, where we're really starting to ratchet up, military and aggressive human behavior, the waves of 66, 67, for instance, going back to the waves of 50, 51, there seems to be a tie-in with troops coming back from Korea, the sort of the ending of conflict or the conflict starting to even out. And, but I think changes, especially involving aggressive human behavior, do tend to spark flaps of UFO activity, or it appears statistically that happens. And it's the same with the cattle mutilation phenomenon. I actually, in my new book, I go into, some pretty interesting areas about looking at how certain memes within the culture get started inadvertently or by design. In some cases, they're actually, interjected on purpose into the culture. And again, you do see a correlation with aggressive human behavior. So I think that's something for our listeners to really maybe dig into a little bit more and do a little research in those areas.
We're going to dig into this right now, and then we'll dig up some more commentaries from Red Pill Junkie. Joining Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
Free from the shackles of corporate America, we're the place for independent thinkers. GCN.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you'd like to listen to GCN programs on the go, I have great news. GCN has created a Droid and iPhone application, and it's free. Just as easy as going to GCNlive.com, click on the banner, and download. Before you know it, you'll be listening to your favorite hard-hitting GCN shows, live or on demand, right on your Droid or iPhone, 24/7 and on the go. So download the Droid and iPhone app free by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Thanks again for listening to GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. We the people grow cotton, weave fabric, engrave ink, embed strips and fibers to protect from counterfeit, then carting to a private bank, having it lent back at interest, forcing taxes to service debt. This capitalism, or was Jefferson correct when stating a central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army? Ted Anderson, I'm placing a free silver dollar in a book that explains our monetary system. Call for your copy, 800-686-2237. It's time to understand the system. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
It's that time of year again, and you know what that means. Cold and flu season. But don't worry, herbalhealer.com has you and your loved ones covered with our safe and natural products. Cold and flu fighters like beta-glucans, olive leaf antiviral capsules, grapefruit seed extract, HHA 4-herb capsules, elderberry power, and respirate. And don't forget about Oregacillin for the lungs, normally $34.95, on sale now for only $25. Vitamin D3 120-count soft gels, only $9. Whole body and homeopathic detoxes for the lungs, kidneys, liver, lymph, and brain, normally $26.95, now just $20. Herbalhealer.com also offers correspondence courses to teach you how to handle your health naturally. And as always, new customers get a free 128-page catalog with your order. Visit herbalhealer.com and click the Winter Specials button to save on our natural cold and flu fighting products. Herbalhealer.com, healing the world with nature, one person at a time, since 1988.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
On the Paracast, we have Red Pill Junkie. That's the name of a gentleman who is fascinated by the paranormal. He blogs, he comments, and he's here today to tell you what he thinks. And obviously, we have a lot of interest in what he has to say. A lot of our listeners have asked questions, and we'll get through those and some of our own questions as we continue. So, RPJ, before we go on, any response to what Chris said in the previous segment?
Yeah, I mean, looking back on the waves of 1973 and all that, and I actually take pride on the fact that I was born in October of 1973 during one of those big UFO waves.
Okay, so you're just a kid.
Yeah, I'm still wet between the years.
And other places, but we
and
don't
other
want to get
places.
into that.
But getting back to the other part of Nameless question about the co-creation of the phenomenon, I'm totally in favor of it. I think we're, like Greg Bishop and other people have suggested, we are no mere spectators. I mean, maybe when we see something in the sky or something that we can't interpret and that we haven't had a previous experience for it, our minds is trying to put it into a frame of reference that we can grasp.
That makes sense. And there's definitely some sort of reflective cultural aspect, at least I believe, in this sense, which is akin to the valet control system, the cultural thermostat idea of heating the culture up when it needs to be heated up and cooling it down when it needs to be cooled down. Mm-hmm. That's always struck me as being a very, very astute observation, and it rings true for me. But do you think that this is a way to get humans to evolve? Nameless has a third question here, and he's wondering if this is a way to kickstart change within the culture and to break conformity of will and the narrow view of a paradigm. Where do you see the shift in consciousness going? Are we relegated into the realm of the trickster where all bets are off and anything could happen? Or are we seeing a real trend going into a particular direction?
I do think that the phenomenon is somehow involved in the evolution of human culture. UFOs are, in a way, I see them as agents of instability. They undermine the power and the legitimacy of the status quo. Maybe that's why only people outsiders, cultural outsiders, are the one most fascinated by them. But people in the mainstream, the elite, they try to reject it and to turn their head away. And as for where are we going, the thing I would like to see is a shift away from our current materialistic paradigm. This rejection of anything that cannot be addressed or explained by our current scientific methodology, that the insistence that human consciousness, it's nothing but the mere byproduct of the firing of our neurons inside our brains. If we could start to prove that human consciousness is non-local by nature, then that maybe will be even more important, more groundbreaking that the classical wish of the UFOs landing on the White House lawn.
Yeah.
What I hear when I'm listening to these commentaries, that we are what they call these thin clients, the human brain. A thin client being like a computer that taps into a larger network. And we're all tapping into the same network. We're using cloud-based systems. And now, of course, we're using that in the technology world, where a lot of things are happening in the cloud, which is, of course, a network of servers that our computers or their smartphones or your tablets tap into. So is that the human mind, that we're all tapping into this central repository of information, or is it all part of a shared network where we each play a part of it? Like, these BitTorrents where everybody is part of the network when you download illegal software or music.
That's the kind of things that I'm currently pondering upon, whether our human brains are just complex enough in order to tap into what Eastern mystics will call the net of Indra, or the sea of consciousness, right? So our brains are just like nodes, hubs of consciousness. So maybe the idea is here to try to entertain the possibility that the main building blocks of reality are not energy and time-space like materialist scientists will have us believe, but rather that consciousness and information are the base of everything. That is something that Jacques Vallée started to propose in his books, Messengers of Deception, that really had a huge influence in my way of thinking. Yeah. That's when I first started to entertain the idea that we live in a associative universe rather than a causative one. In a causative universe, the cause must always precede the effect. But in an associative universe, it's something like the internet, where our consciousness are tapping into all these hyperlinks, and you can move from place to place regardless of time and space. And in such a universe, things like remote viewing and precognition and telepathy, they don't break the laws of physics. They obey the laws of physics.
Yeah, and you're describing something that almost sounds holographic in nature, that the implicate order is contained in all aspects of it. You know, you have a full image that's contained within the parts of the image, and that brings in the whole possibility that each individual human consciousness may be like a synapse in a giant brain, and then the collective unconscious is the actual neural pathways that connect all this stuff together. And it all operates with a basic set of symbols or archetypes, which the work of Carl Jung, of course, has really flavored my thinking for many years. And when you put those two things together, some people might be a little bigger synapse sitting at more of a crucial junction within the system, and maybe firing off signals and receiving signals more so than other synapses. And so maybe the special destiny people are just sitting right at the right intersection of this, hypothetical synaptic network. But it would make sense that there is interconnectedness, and that on some level we are co-creating this reality. And hence your Red Pill Junkie moniker. Where do you want to go back to take the blue pill and you want to go back to sleep and into your, what you think is your everyday mundane reality, or do you want to see what's really going on? And that's why I've always loved that particular avatar that you have, and it was very striking to me when I first started reading your commentaries on the net. Well, so what do you think about this idea of this holographic sort of systematic network of connected holograms all firing off one another and sharing on some deep collective unconscious way?
Yeah, I think it's a very suggestive possibility. On the last Paradigm Symposium, I had the luxury and the pleasure of spending 2 whole hours with Thomas Fosco, who tried to explain to me his idea of this super geometry, like this higher order of reality in which our universe is merely a subset. And I can't claim to say that I fully understood what he said. By the end of it, my brain was sweating and I felt like dizzy. But I think we are coming back to all these very Gnostic, ideas that harken back to the age of Plato, the cave, and in which we are on, what we perceive as reality are merely shadows, reflecting on the walls of the cave.
And wouldn't it be interesting if we could collectively change that reality to something maybe a little bit better? Let's get into more of that in our next segment. Red Pill Junkie is joining us. You're on with Gina and Chris. Of course, Chris' new book, Stalking the Herd, will be out shortly. But meantime, you're in
the Paracast.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on our distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
So here's what happened. I was placing an order online. The site went down. It just stopped responding. It took hours before it returned, but I'd already placed the order with another company. If your site goes down, you could lose business. And if you have a business or personal site, you'll want to know it's easy to run and it will stay online. At iWeb, your site is hosted on one of the most reliable networks in the world. Check it out. iWeb.com. That's iWeb.com.
Do you know how much the dollar has lost in its value against other currencies in the last 90 days? Ever think about how inflation will change your life, your savings, your retirement plans? Remember inflation in Zimbabwe, Argentina, the Weimar Republic? Put another way, who cares if your investments go up 10%, but you lose 40% of your purchasing power? Gold is the only monetary asset as no one else's liability. Gold still buys the same amount of stuff it always did. Gold does not require trust in a third party. You can possess it in your hand. You can take it with you. Gold is real money. Gold is honest money. My name is Daniel Larson from Midas Resources. To find out how you can protect your savings and roll over your IRA funds into precious metals accounts, please call me at 800-686-2237, extension 134. That's 800-686-2237, extension 134. 800-686-2237, extension 134.
Great news, pure water lovers. BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com has a special discount offer for all GCN listeners. You can't do better than a Big Berkey for economy. For only 1.7 cents a gallon, a single set of filters can last for 5 to 10 years. There's none better than a Big Berkey for emergency preparedness as a backup water source. And you just can't beat a Big Berkey to remove dangerous chlorine, all types of fluoride, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, parasites, and unhealthy byproducts from municipal water. Berkey water filter systems are even powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. For the gold standard in water filters, get a Big Berkey at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. And all GCN listeners get 5% off all ceramic filter systems. For details, call 1-877-99-BERKEY. That's 877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
It's no secret that silver is one of the oldest known natural antibiotics, but the mainstream media will never tell we the people this information. Why? Many drug companies and politicians have dangerous alliances that manipulate the way we live by prescribing drugs that only manage disease, keeping us dependent on big pharma. And with Obamacare at our doorstep, we are now forced into a system that many of us do not want any part of. And no man or government has the right to dictate how we as free people choose to take care of our health. The patriots at utopiasilver.com hold this truth dear. Colloidal and ionic silver supplements from utopiasilver.com open the door to a whole new world of natural healing for the body and the mind. Visit utopiasilver.com and discover the safe and effective health benefits of colloidal and ionic silver. Call 888-213-4338, 888-213-4338, and talk to the patriots at utopiasilver.com, a leading source of natural healing using colloidal silver, colloidal gold, minerals, vitamins, and herbs. utopiasilver.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
So, Red Pill Junkie joining Gene and Chris. Can we, my friend, collectively create our own reality, especially if we don't like the one that we have now?
I think so. Perhaps it's possible. Perhaps we are just subconsciously shaping the course of our own history. And if we could just try to come up with a better idea of where we are, where we want to go, maybe we could make that a reality. That's why I am such a big fan of science fiction, because to me it's like a window in which we can glimpse the kind of future that we could hope for. You know, that like in the Star Trek universe, we see humanity has finally grown beyond our current adolescence and is on its way to becoming a galactic civilization. You know, it's a message of hope. It's a message of how there can be a way to move forward. And maybe if we really, that's one, maybe when engineers are inspired by such artistic representations, they try to manifest that imaginary world into our reality. So now that's why we have technologies like smartphones, are video conferences, and now there are people who are trying to find a way to create an actual warp drive.
And of course, they're even trying to create some kind of teleportation system.
Mm-hmm.
So beam me up, Scotty. That can happen. Then, if you go back to Star Trek Next Generation in the 1980s, they were using tablets like the iPad.
Yes, and there was also in the first version of that program when the American audience saw the first interracial kiss between Captain Kirk and Uhura. You know, back in those days when there was still the separation between the African Americans and the whites. You know, so that was also a message of hope.
Well, you know, for example, the woman who played Uhura, Nichelle Nichols, she wanted to quit after the first year. And she was urged upon by civil rights leaders to keep at that role because she was a role model for women, for black people in general. And that's why she kept it. Of course, in the modern Star Trek, we have Uhura who's involved in a romantic relationship, not just with a white person, but a Vulcan.
Yeah.
Spock. So taking it one further stage.
Yeah. The problem is that right now, I don't know if you have noticed that most of the current sci-fi, it's kind of a dystopic in its nature. You know, it's mostly about worst cases scenarios, like in the movie Elysium, we see, you know, the 1% finally living off the planet and living in this paradise, technological paradise, this luxurious space station. Meanwhile, the rest of the population of the planet is starving to death, and they're living in that, like, the whole planet has become one massive shantytown.
Well, you look at the movie Escape from New York, Escape from L.A. You look, for example, at the Star Trek First Contact, where the world has pretty much fallen apart. And that's when they discover warp drive and they have the first contact with the Vulcans. You look at other TV series, Defiance, for example, talking about the same kind of thing, civilization falling apart, and these are the remnants. Revolution, same deal. They invent something that kills the electricity around the world, and we're back in the 18th century.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, you know, like the current. Maybe that's also why so many people are fascinated with ancient civilizations. And now that the ancient aliens theory is so popular because of the program on H2, mainly because of the idea that perhaps there were civilizations in antiquity that reached a very high level of sophistication, and somehow they messed up. You know, something happened, some catastrophe, maybe self-caused, maybe they had some kind of war or something, and then they destroyed what they had managed to build, and we had to start all over again. Maybe there's this nascent fear that we are on the brink of blowing everything up, so our descendants will have to return to the Stone Age and pick up the pieces.
Well, the problem with that is, could it become a self-fulfilling prophecy? That if we expect the world to fall apart, it will fall apart, and we will have those pieces to pick up. And that's what generates all this fiction. All over the place, the same story. That you have the industrialists, the 1% taking over, or just everything falling apart. There's no 1%. We're all part of the 99%. We're all poor. We're all scrounging out there to make a living.
Yes, perhaps there seems to be something of a death wish, you know, in modern Western culture. You know, that's all something. I think that's what drove much of the impetus of this the 2012 idea of the end of the world, and many people maybe saw that as an escape. You know, say, oh, great, you know, the world will be over, and now I won't have to be stuck on this dead end job, you know, with paying my mortgage or something.
Right. Don't have to worry about the credit bureau. There will be no credit bureau. Your creditors will not call you until 8 p.m. every evening saying, where's my money? It's not going to happen.
But maybe then we have to create a new vision of where we want to go. That yes, there's going to be trouble, but the trouble can also be a source of opportunity. We are smart enough to take it.
This disparity that you keep hearing about, the 99% versus the 1%, does suggest to me that the possibility of there being, as Richard Dolan and Joseph Farrell have dubbed it, a breakaway civilization, I think is more evident. And it's more likely that we have a certain trillionaire-esque game going on of developing technology for the elite breakaway civilization and allowing everybody else just to muddle along with whatever they can get to operate and survive with. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, you have exotic technologies and the very small percentage of people that are in a position to utilize them. I think it's much more likely that this scenario is going on in light of all these cultural examples that you guys have just been talking about in terms of how the media and how, our creative types are coming up constantly with these scenarios that really are suggesting that us lowly people, the great unwashed masses, are being kind of held in check by a breakaway civilization, which is basically what Elysium and a few of these other examples that you've been talking about, that's basically what this situation could be described as. So what do you think about that, RPJ?
We'll have his answer in our next segment. How about that? If the world doesn't explode before then. And let me remind you that next week we'll be featuring Dr. Bruce Maccabee talking about the Gulf Breeze case and lots more. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
The nation's largest independently owned and operated talk radio network. The Genesis Communications Network. GCN.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code Night Owl. Use the coupon code Night Owl to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKEsoft.com. Lemkesoft.com. LEMKEsoft.com.
It's time for a home security quiz. What effective home security device is smaller than a coffee cup, fakes out burglars into thinking someone is home at your house while you're away, plugs into any wall outlet, is recommended by many police departments, and sells for less than $30? Yes, it's Fake TV. This year, about 1 in every 50 U.S. homes will have a break-in, with burglars usually picking the easy target, a dark house that looks like no one is home. Fake TV is a small electronic security device that makes it look like someone is home watching TV by simulating the light from a real TV. Fake TV could be the difference between coming home to a secure house or one that's been ransacked. To get your Fake TV for only $29.95 with free shipping, go to faketv.com or call 1-877-5-FAKE-TV. That's 877-532-5388 or go to faketv.com. Fake TV, the burglar deterrent.
We live in a complicated society. Stressful issues are always popping up. Have you ever been treated unfairly by someone? Have you ever been overcharged for a repair? Have you ever signed a contract or a document? Worried about identity theft? How many times have you been in those unique situations where you just wanted to call an attorney to find out if you're right or wrong, or what your legal rights are? But every time you think about calling an attorney, what do you think about first? That's right. Who do you call? And how much will it cost? Our friends at Legal Shield have found a solution. With a nationwide network of 6,900 attorneys who average 19 years of experience, Legal Shield's law firms take over 40,000 calls per week helping their members. For less than $20 per month, you can have access to Legal Shield on everything from the trivial to the traumatic. Let Legal Shield stand up for your rights at lsprotection.com. That's lsprotection.com. Or call 855-340-SAVE, 855-340-7283.
There are many things the human body can do very well, but maintaining the proper pH level isn't always one of them. That's where AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops can make a world of difference. AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops helps your body do what's natural. Just a few drops a day helps rid your body of harmful waste and acid while promoting health and restoring vibrance and energy. Alkalizing boosts your immune system and can help fight headaches, irritability, cramping, and insomnia. Alkalizing also helps the body fight depression and even bone loss. To learn more about the importance of alkalizing and how you can find life-changing and vital balance, please visit AlkaVision's brand new website at alkavision.com. Same great products, but now easier to use and more informative than ever before. To get your very own Plasma pH Drops for just $29.95, call 800-518-7615 or visit alkavision.com. That's ALKA vision.com. Alkalize your body and supercharge your health at the new alkavision.com.
This is Jacques Vallée. You're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
The world has not exploded, let me assure you. At least that's what they tell me. I might not be here to explain that. Red Pill Junkie is here, joining us. He's an online paranormal blogger and commentator, and we're probing his brain to see what's going on there and asking your questions. Chris asked him for some comments about the state of things. RPG?
There is a guy named Dr. Christopher Ryan who wrote a book titled Sex at Dawn. He also has a podcast called Tangentially Speaking, which I follow regularly. And he had something very interesting to say about how people are fearing something like the singularity and the transhumanist movement, and how some people have this like very sci-fi idea of one day, the machines coming, to rebel against us and start to run things. But in his opinion, this already happened. We already live in an age in which non-human synthetic organisms are running the planet. We just call them corporations. And these corporations are like these immortal entities that are only interested in self-preservation and are consuming all the resources of the planet and are, just enslaving that 99% of humanity that only, they're only focused on trying to make ends meet, instead of, trying to look at, like we do, trying to find answers to all these mysteries, So there's something about that, I think he has a point.
We always talk about these ways of destroying the world. Of course, in the movie Independence Day, the 1% were these locust-like creatures who come to a planet, they exploit the natural resources, and when everything is laid waste, they go on to another planet, and their mothership carries their entire civilization.
Yeah, I think that there's it's like something like Chris proposed on his books, the idea that maybe this phenomenon, this trickster-like phenomenon, is trying to coax us out of the planet, because the planet is maybe like an egg, or maybe like we are like fetus inside the placenta, and the placenta starts to become toxic, as a way to provoke the birth of a child. So maybe that's what happened. Maybe we subconsciously have turned our planet toxic. So now we have no other option but try to seek to find a new home, in outer space.
Right. It's like the planet is a giant mama bird trying to kick the little babies out of the nest.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Say, go fly somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't mind flying somewhere if it's a better place.
Well, it will be a place, it will be a place where there will be problems, like there will always be. Some people say that before trying to start this space colonization, we should try to solve all our problems here. Problem with that is that there will always be problems here. Reality is messy. Reality is imperfect. That's I mean, that's the basis of reality. So wherever we go, there will be humans willing to make trouble.
Yeah, we gotta watch out for humans.
Yeah,
that's our biggest problem.
Free
Get rid of the
buffet at
humans.
Shoney's in Indiana.
Mm-hmm. So that's what some people are now proposing, that maybe we should get rid of humans. People like Ray Kurzweil, who wants to upgrade us and to try to integrate us with our own technology in order to become post-human. Maybe we'll be then, according to him, smart enough to solve the problems that simple-minded humans started so many years ago.
Chris, let's continue with the questions.
Okay. Here's one from Trained Observer, again, who's one of our most active posters. He's rapidly approaching 5,000 messages that he's posted at forum.theparacast.com.
And there's no truth to the rumor that he will keep posting till he gets it right.
Oh, T.O.'s cool. We love him. He's always coming up with interesting stuff. And he's going to put you on the spot with this one. He says, greetings from one compulsive commentator to another. Do you think that there are any, quote unquote, true photographs of aliens, ghosts, or crypto creatures on the internet? If not, why would that be so, given the proliferation of cameras in the modern world? If you think there are genuine photos available, can you point us to them?
Oh, boy. Well, about this idea that there are so many cameras right now available because people are carrying smartphones, and that's why we should be able to have more photos of UFOs or whatever. The other day, I was in my office and I saw this very beautiful rainbow, and I tried to take a picture of it with my smartphone camera. And after several tries, and even though the rainbow was very complacent and it didn't run away from me, I couldn't manage to capture it on the image. So we have to keep in mind that yes, there are more cameras outside right now, but they are not sensitive enough to capture things that the human eye can.
Well, you got to factor in, the fact that these people are looking down into their phones. They're not even looking around. So I think that's actually creating more of a problem, because it used to be you didn't have a phone in your hand and you weren't texting and you weren't reading your emails and stuff as you're walking around. I'll bet you one thing we'll see is a lot more people being hit by cars, by getting killed in automobile wrecks because they're busy with their smartphones. Smartphones are actually the opposite of what we need to have people be more vigilant of their environment, and especially the sky around them. I think smartphones have probably done more damage to potential sky watching than any other thing. So, there's a downside to everything, and that's the downside to all these smartphones, in my opinion.
Yeah, but getting back to his question, and in kind of a segue of what you're saying, I'm more interested in the type of photographs in which the cameraman wasn't actually aware or wasn't intending of capturing anything particularly anomalous. I remember this. I actually looked it up on the internet. This black and white photo from 1959, taken by a woman called Mabel Chinnery, was visiting the grave of her mother in a British graveyard, and he took a picture of his husband, who was on the front seat of the car. And on the back, you see a female figure with glasses, and the woman claims that there was no one else in the car, and that woman was her dead mother, and well, I'm not saying this is a genuine ghost photograph. I'm not saying that I always find it interesting, you know. Another one that I also comes to mind is this famous or infamous photo taken in the 1960s in England, where you see a little girl in the foreground, and in the background you see a very weird, you know, a figure with wearing some kind of weird white like outfit, you know, like a spaceman outfit. I always found that picture also interesting.
All right, that is very interesting. And I think we're going to have to do a break now and focus on more questions, more comments. We're exploring way, way, way beyond the final frontier. Our guest is Red Pill Junkie. That's the way he prefers to be mentioned. And by the way, there's another Red Pill Junkie out there. Isn't that screwy? We'll learn more about that. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
We are the premier independent talk radio network, the Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
So here's what happened. I was placing an order online. The site went down. It just stopped responding. It took hours before it returned, but I'd already placed the order with another company. If your site goes down, you could lose business. And if you have a business or personal site, you'll want to know it's easy to run and it will stay online. At iWeb, your site is hosted on one of the most reliable networks in the world. Check it out. iWeb.com. That's iWeb.com.
Do you owe the IRS money that you can't pay? Are tax liens and levies ruining your life? Are you tired of being afraid just to go to the mailbox? If this describes you, then Dan Pilla can help.
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla, and I've been solving tax problems for more than 30 years. In fact, I wrote the book that made it possible to negotiate settlements with the IRS, and I've helped thousands of people do exactly that. Call now at 800-346-6829 to learn how I can help you. You know your IRS debt will not go away by itself, but you don't have to live in fear anymore. New changes to IRS policies will help more people than ever before eliminate their debts once and for all. There's no need for you to suffer another day with IRS debt. Call 800-346-6829. I can help you eliminate wage and bank levies, release tax liens, and negotiate a settlement with the IRS that will put your tax nightmare behind you forever. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, taxhelponline.com. That's taxhelponline.com.
Pharmacist Ben Fuchs has learned the importance of good fats for good health. Good fats are essential fatty acids, and they're called essential because they're necessary for good health. That's why he uses Ultimate EFAs from Longevity.
Among the fats, the most powerful are two fats that are referred to as essential fatty acids. Now, nothing in the world of nutrition is more important than essential fatty acids. The word essential means you better get it in your diet or you're in big trouble. Essential fatty acids are perhaps the most multifunctional and versatile of all the essential nutrients. Essential fatty acids are not just important for the heart, they're important for everything in the body.
To get the essential fatty acids that are so important to your body, order Ultimate EFAs from Longevity by calling 866-735-2470. That's 866-735-2470. Or on the web at brightsideben.com. That's brightsideben.com. Order today.
This is Jerome Clark, author of the UFO Encyclopedia and other books. You're listening to the Paracast.
We have the one and only Red Pill Junkie joining us on the Paracast, but wait a minute, there's another guy using that name. RPJ, tell us what's going on.
I don't know. I mean, I know that there's another one using the nickname, you can believe it. And the reason I know is because a friend of mine told me that there was, before I entered into Twitter, that there was already a guy on Twitter using the handle of Red Pill Junkie. So I decided to find out, and it turns out that the guy is also Mexican and also an industrial designer, you know, which is the profession I studied in college. So I don't know, man. Talk about doppelgangers, huh?
Yeah, maybe he's your evil twin.
Maybe. I hope he behaves.
Yeah, really. Okay, well, here's another question from Polterwurst this time, who's been a poster at forum.theparacast.com for 2 years. And, you know, he wants to know why the fascination with the unexplained, with you personally and in people in general. But he asked, do you have any experiences yourself which you couldn't explain even after examining them thoroughly? And would you agree that it's illogical to believe in the existence of genuine phenomena without having had an experience like that? Let's take that one first. You've mentioned a couple of things that you've seen. What's the most perplexing thing that you cannot explain that you've experienced?
The most perplexing thing I experienced?
Besides that girl in high school.
Oh, boy. Well, I had a very powerful synchronicity on my way to the first Paradigm Symposium. I was very nervous back then because it was going to be my, actually, if you can believe it, the first trip that I was going to do abroad all on my own. And I was going to a place where actually nobody knew me, you know, personally. So I was very, very, very hesitant. And I went to the airport carrying a copy of Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. You know, I was about to end the book. I still undecided whether I should bring it with me or leave it and finish it after I returned. But I decided to take it. And just as I was about to board the plane, I was reading the last story on the book, which is the Million-Year-Old Picnic. And in that book, it was mentioned the city of Minneapolis, and kind of struck me because I was going to Minneapolis in that moment, you know, and one of the characters' name was Mike, which is, well, it's the cat's out of the bag. That's actually my name in Meatspace, Miguel. So I found that to be kind of like a little wink of the universe telling me that it was all going to be all right, and that I was meant to go to the Paradigm Symposium in Minneapolis.
Okay. Yeah, I love synchronicities when they happen most of the time. Sometimes they're a little scary. I do have quite a number in my life as well. Here's a follow-up question from Polterwurst. Who do you think does more harm to the field, the debunkers and hoaxers or the charlatans catering to the true believers?
Oh, boy. I guess, in my opinion, that will be the debunkers, because no matter how great a case you might have, no matter how good the evidence you might be able to provide, they will always go and say, nope, extraordinary claims deserve extraordinary evidence, and they are the ones who think they have the right to say what exactly is extraordinary. But then again, bringing back the teachings of Carlos Castañeda, nowadays I consider debunkers for what they really are, and that is they are petty tyrants. Petty tyrant, according to Carlos Castaneda, is a tormentor, someone who either holds the power of life and death over a warrior or simply annoys them to distraction, So if you see debunkers as a way to challenge you, to help you really on a personal basis to understand why is it that you believe in what you believe in, what's the reason behind, your allegations, they can be actually a powerful tool learning. In the teachings of Carlos Castaneda, a warrior should be thankful for petty tyrants because it's a chance to challenge your skills. Maybe if you look at them that way, maybe you won't be so annoyed by debunkers, because you will never be able to convince them, right? They will never go out and say, oh, I was wrong and you are right and UFOs exist and blah blah blah. They're never going to do that, because that's what they do. They are professional skeptics. That's what they do for a living. But do it for yourself. A little opposition can be a very good thing. If someone is able to provide with civil opposition, civil disagreement, it can be a wonderful tool of learning.
But then if they're paying you to be a house skeptic, well, you got to make a living. That's the philosophy.
Mm-hmm. That's the problem, because they follow a certain agenda. But there are real skeptics, people who are skeptics in the truest sense of the word, not the hijacked form that we see in some labels. I could name a few, like a guy named Martin Clemens, who is recently writing for Mysterious Universe. There's also this girl called Hayley Stevens, she is a paranormal investigator in England, and she is very centered. I pay attention to what she has to say. And even my friend Micah Hanks, he's grown more skeptics over the years, and we disagree in a few things, but he is smart enough to don't be emotionally invested in his research. He doesn't have to be right all the time, and he doesn't have to get angry if I just don't happen to agree with him about, I don't know, ghost rockets or UFOs or whatever.
Micah Hanks is one of our favorite guests here. I wanted to ask you, RPJ, what about some researchers who become so wedded to a belief system or a particular case that they can't see beyond that, and if things about that case are proven not to be correct, they will insist almost to their dying day that there's no such thing, that the case is real. And I'm not going to mention someone like Stanton Friedman and the MJ-12 documents, but I think that's an example. I don't think the documents hold up to scrutiny.
Yeah, I think that's also another problem in the field. People who are, like you said, so invested in a particular theory that they cannot, maybe out of fear or maybe out of trying to lose face, they cannot go and maybe entertain the possibility that they might be wrong. So that's why one of the reasons that I pay a lot of attention to someone like Grant Cameron, who started on a very maybe not some ballsy kind of way of looking at the phenomenon, and now he's progressing to a more being more interested in the consciousness aspect of the phenomenon. He is an example of someone who has evolved in his particular way of thinking, like Jacques Vallée, and I pay more attention to those kind of researchers.
Well, I would disagree with you, and I would say that the hoaxers and the charlatans could create more problems, because that generally they prey on what could be potentially good minds, good investigators, young people coming up wanting to get educated, and the muddying of the waters by hoaxers and charlatans, I think, makes it much more difficult to attract younger people into the field, to give them an accurate data set of information. I think debunkers have actually a role in the process of keeping people honest, keeping the thinking as pristine as possible. Skeptics are one thing, debunkers are another. But the debunkers, you can tell, because every other word is no, it's not. Mm-hmm. No, it's not. No, it's not. And that's easy to see through. Some of these people, like the twins that shall not be named in their website, putting up all this questionable stuff, that it surrounds some good stuff. And by putting the same gravitas on all of it, you're not differentiating for the newcomer, the newbie. You're not giving them a sense of what to really look for versus all the crap that it's surrounding.
Well, then you create the impression, Chris, that's all crap. Because if this is crap and this is nonsense and this is an example of the best evidence that UFO believers can present, don't pay attention to it. We are paying attention to Red Pill Junkie. Joining Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast. They prey on what could be potentially good minds, good investigators, young people coming up wanting to get educated, and the muddying of the waters by...
We are America's largest independently owned communications network, GCN.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you'd like to listen to GCN programs on the go, I have great news. GCN has created a Droid and iPhone application, and it's free. Just as easy as going to GCNlive.com, click on the banner, and download. Before you know it, you'll be listening to your favorite hard-hitting GCN shows, live or on demand, right on your Droid or iPhone, 24/7 and on the go. So download the Droid and iPhone app free by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Thanks again for listening to GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
For over 5 years, you've been hearing about the Berkey guy, so you may know a few things about him. For example, you are well aware of the superior quality and effectiveness of Berkey water filters and accessories. But did you know the Berkeys have had independent lab tests done to prove just how effective they are? It's true, and he can email you the test results. Just visit goberkey.com. You may also know that the Berkey guy has helped tens of thousands of people get better prepared. Now here's something you may not know. GoBerkey.com has amazing specials and deals all the time on a wide variety of survival and preparedness products, most ready to ship same day. Visit the Berkey Guy at GoBerkey.com and be sure to click the red Products on Sale Now button. You can always call toll-free 877-886-3653. Again, that's 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com, home of the Berkey Guy.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
Red Pill Junkie joins us with Gene and Chris on the Paracast. I'm going to ask you, what the heck? Would you care to tell our listeners what your real name is? We know your first name.
Yeah, my real name is Miguel Romero.
Okay. Now you know.
You heard it here first, folks.
Okay, Miguel, but we're still going to call you RPJ.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question here. You're an interior designer. You have a family?
No, I'm single.
All right. Do you have family members out there who are aware of your paranormal pursuits?
Yeah, I mean, my parents know that I'm a blogger, that I blog in these kind of things. Obviously, because of the fact that 100% of what I write is in English, that maybe they're not willing or able to follow it. But no, they're aware that I'm a very active member of the Fortean blogosphere.
Do they have any interest in those subjects or not?
Not really, and back in the day when I was younger, they kind of teased me about it, For example, my sisters, they couldn't get over the fact that when I was in high school and I was reading Whitley Strieber's Communion, I had to sleep with the light on for 6 full months on account of the book because it scared the crap out of me. So they will tell me, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're a grown man by now. And you're acting like a baby."
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, and I mean, I had to even keep the book, with the front cover, with the picture with the big black eyes. I had to keep it upside down because I just couldn't stand watching it after the sun went dark.
Well, my crazy brother used to tell me all sorts of horror stories when I was a kid. He'd talk about Frankenstein and Dracula and vampires. And he was the one, when I was 11, he left a copy of a flying saucer book on his coffee table at his apartment. And that's what got me started in the subject. So it's his fault. Unfortunately, he's not here to argue with him over the point. But somewhere out there, and I won't say whether it's up there or down there, it depends on your point of view, he might be laughing at us right now.
I'm sure he is.
Well, maybe you've talked to him lately. Tell me more. What do you have to say? Chris, some more questions.
Okay. It's another couple of good questions from Polterwurst. These will make you think a little bit. Do you think there is a demand being created by fans of these fields that we've been talking about? The paranormal, the forte and stuff. Do you think there's fans that there's a demand created by the need for new stories, new theories, new alleged phenomena, like these new things like Slender Man and the Dark-Eyed Children? Are we seeing, is there a chance, rather, for the genuine phenomenon to even be recognized in such an environment like this with these new things coming along and the internet disseminating all this stuff? What do you think about this demand being created?
I don't know if there is a demand for new theories because I think that overall most people like simple and tidy black and white explanations. UFOs are extraterrestrial spacecraft. Bigfoot is an undiscovered primate, roaming around the North American forests. The Loch Ness Monster is a plesiosaur. Ghosts are the souls of the deceased and all that, So I think that only a small fraction of people are more interested in kind of messier or more nuanced considerations about the paranormal and how maybe somehow all of these seemingly distinct phenomena might be connected somehow. As for the hunger or the crave for new theories or for new stories, there's always going to be people who want to read maybe about the Black-Eyed Kids right now are very popular. Slender Man, it's also a very popular story right now among people who may be 10 or 20 years younger than us. And well, that's as for, is there any hope for a chance of the true phenomenon to be recognized? I don't know, man. I think the phenomenon will be able to evolve and modify itself in order for us to pay attention to it, as it's always have.
So you think these phenomena they kind of appear in certain guises and in certain situations as a way to fulfill the expectations of the experiencer?
Yeah, I think partly, and also maybe partly following an agenda that we might not be able to recognize. For example, I think that these phenomena act in several different layers. That maybe there is a very personal layer that is only meant for the direct experiencer, but there also may be the possibility that there's a different layer meant to infect, if you want to use that term, a third parties. For example, I remembered how Nick Redfern, in one of his blog posts for UFO Mystics, talked how his interest in these topics was spawned by something his father told him when he was a member of the Royal Air Force. I think he was a radar operator, and back in those days, there was some kind of weird UFO event that was registered by the radar or something, and that piqued the curiosity of young Nick back then. So I proposed to him, well, maybe that sighting or that event that happened to your dad was also somehow meant to you, man, because here you are, you dedicated your life now to study this phenomena. So maybe that was some kind of crossroads in your path.
So was the decision of my brother to borrow a flying saucer book from the New York Public Library and leave it so I'd see it?
Yeah.
Was that deliberate? Because the more you think about it, it's got to be weird, because I never knew that guy to be interested in any such thing. He had an interest in science fiction and fantasy, obviously. Witness the stories he'd tell me. I was very young before he left home. But I never knew him to sit there and just read books about UFOs. On this particular occasion, the book was there. I never, ever saw him or saw another book like that left for anyone to see, just that one time.
Yeah, I stopped believing in coincidences a long time ago. I think that things like that happen for a reason. And also among members of my family who didn't have a particular interest in the topic, but nevertheless, I found in some of their libraries books like written by Pedro Ferriz or by Tim Diesel about the Loch Ness Monster, and those books had a huge impact when I was a child. So there you go.
You wonder if they expected that to influence your young mind and turn your life in a different sort of direction, maybe.
I think that there are forces beyond our understanding how somehow are pulling the strings, that somehow lead us in a certain direction.
Well, I know what this direction has done. It hasn't made me rich and famous. Maybe I'm slightly famous or slightly well-known. I don't know. I don't dwell upon it. I don't worry about it. In fact, there's a forum thread at the Paracast forums where we suggest that once I'm gone, my dog Teddy Bear will take over the newsletter. Red Pill Junkie joins Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Neighbors, are you tired of dealing with a slow web hosting provider? Well, check out A2 Hosting and their screaming fast Swift server platform. They even have SSDs that load pages 300% faster than the competition. Ready to give your site a speed boost? Well, tell you what, neighbors, head on over to a2hosting.com. That's A2, that's number 2, a2hosting.com. Check out their Prime hosting account. And get this, neighbors, they're even giving you an exclusive 25% off discount for all our listeners. 25%. And remember, their Guru Crew support team is standing by 24/7, 365 days a year to answer any of your questions. Now, to get the discount, use the coupon code GENE when you check out.
On the average, Americans work between 45 to 50 years, hoping to build up enough wealth to retire and live out their golden years. Unfortunately, with taxation, the rising cost of food, energy, housing, and medical, many retirees are forced to live below the poverty line. Is this a flaw of free enterprise, or is our monetary unit we call the Federal Reserve Note forcing us into perpetual debt, ensuring inflation and higher taxes? These questions and more can be answered by reading G. Edward Griffin's book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. Congressman Ron Paul states it's what every American needs to know about central bank power. A gripping adventure into the secret world of international banking cartel. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I will give a silver dollar from the early 1900s to anyone who purchases this book. Call 1-800-686-2237 and order a copy today. It's critical that the public be made aware of the system. Call and order your copy today at 1-800-686-2237. That's 1-800-686-2237.
Great news, pure water lovers. BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com has a special discount offer for all GCN listeners. You can't do better than a Big Berkey for economy. For only 1.7 cents a gallon, a single set of filters can last for 5 to 10 years. There's none better than a Big Berkey for emergency preparedness as a backup water source. And you just can't beat a Big Berkey to remove dangerous chlorine, all types of fluoride, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, parasites, and unhealthy byproducts from municipal water. Berkey water filter systems are even powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. For the gold standard in water filters, get a Big Berkey at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. And all GCN listeners get 5% off all ceramic filter systems. For details, call 1-877-99-BERKEY. That's 877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
There are many things the human body can do very well, but maintaining the proper pH level isn't always one of them. That's where AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops can make a world of difference. AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops helps your body do what's natural. Just a few drops a day helps rid your body of harmful waste and acid while promoting health and restoring vibrance and energy. Alkalizing boosts your immune system and can help fight headaches, irritability, cramping, and insomnia. Alkalizing also helps the body fight depression and even bone loss. To learn more about the importance of alkalizing and how you can find life-changing and vital balance, please visit AlkaVision's brand new website at alkavision.com. Same great products, but now easier to use and more informative than ever before. To get your very own Plasma pH Drops for just $29.95, call 800-518-7615 or visit alkavision.com. That's ALKA Vision.com. Alkalize your body and supercharge your health at the new alkavision.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
It sounds like Nick Redfern's crazy uncle.
From the school of Nick Redfern. There you go.
That's funny. Well, I have some more questions here if we want to go through them. Polterwurst has a couple more. This next couple of questions, I'm really interested to hear what RPG has to say about this. Would you agree that UFO sightings seem more abundant in Mexico than elsewhere? And if so, could there be a correlation with the paranormal being more accepted in general there?
Well, the UFO sightings are definitely abundant in Mexico. Are there more abundant than other places? I don't know. Maybe the people are more willing to report it, or maybe are more willing to spend their afternoons, sitting on the rooftop with a camera on hand, just waiting to see if they can record something anomalous. And it's something that I recently discussed with Greg. So what I would like to see as a progression in the field is more people from different countries, starting to contribute and to alert the English-speaking community of the events happening in their countries. Because I would really like to know what's happening in China, or what's happening in Czechoslovakia, what's happening in Russia. Maybe there's right now a big UFO wave in China, and we just don't know about it because there's the language barrier.
Well, that brings up the point that a lot of this type of information doesn't leave the locality of where it's reported. I've noticed this in my years out in the field that oftentimes the locals will have all kinds of interesting stories about things going on, and then in 3 or 4 communities away, they're not aware of it. It's only when the regional media gets in touch with witnesses and maybe airs some footage or covers a news story that then it slowly, this particular story gets legs and then spreads. And if these types of activities continue, that's when your regional media will be, recognized by national media, and then possibly a story will be told. But it's like everything else. It's right place at the right time. The right person saying the right buzzword to the right reporter who's in a position to have some influence and get a story written. A good example of that would be the Phoenix Lights case, which was a huge story here in the central Arizona area. But it wasn't until 4 months that the national media got a hold of the story. I think it was 2 or 3 months, actually, almost 4 months later. And I think the USA Today did a big story on it. And then all of a sudden it became, worldwide news. I just find it very interesting how the culture allows certain things to be disseminated at a particular speed and with a particular amount of inertia behind it. And I think down in Mexico, as you pointed out, people are more willing to spend a little time sky watching, maybe get up on their roof with a camera. And once they have captured something, there are people that they know of, like Jaime and others, that they can then present this footage to as a platform for it to be shown to the culture at large. You don't see that happening very much in other countries. South America to some degree, yes. But, I really would like to know what's going on in China. I mean, the largest UFO group in the world has 1 million members, and it's a Chinese UFO, civilian UFO organization. And I think more effort personally should be devoted by trying to create inroads and connections with groups around the world. I think MUFON really needs to expand its efforts and outreach to other countries, especially countries that have a history of sightings and unusual reports of all kinds. What do you think about that?
I couldn't agree more. I think that there needs to be a wider network of participation, and if we could just see the same level of willingness of young people sharing viral stories, like, instead of maybe they didn't pay so much attention to Justin Bieber or Miley Cyrus and pay more attention to the local newspaper, and which might have run some interesting UFO story, and they were then tweeted about it, in English, or because English, let's be honest, it's still the lingua franca in the world. I mean, that's the way in which you can connect with 99% of the content in the internet. So if we could manage to somehow coax younger generation to start paying more attention to what's happening around their vicinity and share it with the rest of the world using the social networks, I think that will be a very interesting move forward.
Yeah. Do you find the generations younger than you being in your mid to late 30s, do you find them more jaded, less interested in these subjects, disinterested in anything but their smartphone, whether they're going to get laid, and whether they have the right kind of tennis shoes?
All them kids with their smartphones and their Xbox One. When in my day, we have to go to the arcade, and we have to stay in line, I don't know, man. I think that people get interested in the subject for all kinds of things. Maybe a lot of teenagers became interested in the UFOs after the Stephenville sighting of a few years ago,
Right.
and maybe some people will get interested about the phenomenon once another big UFO lab starts in another country. That's.
So you think interest is event-driven then?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I could see why you'd say that. So it's going to take a real major Phoenix Lights style sighting that is impossible to cover up and gets incredible coverage. Then we'll see a jumpstart. I saw a jumpstart when the X-Files came out. All of a sudden, there was a huge interest in UFOs, conspiracy, black budget, military projects, clandestine PSYOP type scenarios. And there seemed to be in 92 an incredible upsurge of interest, which then corresponded to an upsurge in reports of all kinds. Because it seems to me more people were interested, more people were aware of their surroundings, and by being more aware of your surroundings, chances are you're going to see more reports and more levels of activity because there's more people interested in watching. What can we do today to have something like that that's not relying on something high strange happening in front of a lot of people?
And before we have the answer to that question, we have to do the break right now. But we do have Red Pill Junkie joining us, a prolific blogger, commenting on all things strange, all things unusual. And that's where it goes. You're on with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Oh, man, that was good.
A little right, a little left, but always independent-minded. The Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter, and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code Night Owl. Use the coupon code Night Owl to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKE soft.com. lemkesoft.com. LEMKE soft.com.
We all know that Berkey Water Purification Systems are the most trusted name in water filtration. As an authorized Berkey dealer for over 6 years and serving thousands of satisfied customers, the Berkey Guy offers amazing specials for Berkey water filtration systems. The Berkey Light systems include a set of self-sterilizing and recleanable black purification elements that purify water by removing chlorine, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, and parasites to non-detectable levels and remove harmful chemicals such as herbicides and pesticides. Order the Berkey Light system today, complete with 2 black Berkey elements for only $231, and the Berkey Guy will ship your order free of charge. With the purchase of a Berkey Light, the Berkey Guy is also offering a set of fluoride and arsenic filters for only $39.99. That's over 30% off the retail price. Call the Berkey Guy at 1-877-886-3653. That's 1-877-886-3653. Or order online at goberkey.com. That's goberkey.com today.
Now you can get the same survival food U.S. Special Forces use on their toughest field missions. High-protein, high-energy, freeze-dried foods known as long-range patrol rations, or LRPs. Soldiers love LRP rations. They're lightweight and easy to carry. Easy to prepare by just adding water. Easy to enjoy because they taste great. Civilians love LRPs as a solution for emergency preparedness and recreational activities with limited storage space, such as hiking, climbing, sailing, or RV travel. Veteran-owned Freeze Dry Guy is your exclusive source for this 2013 U.S. military overrun. Long on nutrition, these delicious entrees have a long shelf life, lasting decades. But this rare opportunity, this limited supply, will not last long. You have to act now. Call 866-404-3663, 866-404-FOOD, or log on now to freezedryguy.com, freezedryguy.com.
Can Heart and Body Extract help with other ailments besides heart conditions, high blood pressure, clogged arteries, or unbalanced cholesterol? It did for Karen.
I've been using Heart and Body Extract for approximately 2 weeks. I've had an earwax buildup problem for many years, with over-the-counter stuff not working at all. I had very poor hearing due to this earwax buildup. Well, after 2 weeks of taking Heart and Body Extract, my earwax buildup almost completely cleared up. Could this be the effect of better body circulation?
Heart and Body Extract is an effective 100% organic nutritional supplement specially formulated to allow your body to heal itself.
My hearing is almost completely back to normal. I'm amazed.
Order by calling 866-295-5305 or online at hbextract.com. That's 866-295-5305 or hbextract.com. Heart and Body Extract for long and healthy life.
This is Kurt Sutherland, the author of UFO Mysteries, and you're listening to the Paracast.
You know what we should do here? I still think we should have a recording on CD on iTunes, the best of the Paracast stingers.
Yeah, that would be great.
And we'll have, of course, you and Nick Redfern. Bryce Zabel does a very good job.
We had a good one from Brad Steiger.
Oh, he's pretty good too. Yeah,
he did a good one, real good one. Well, I always go with the original. The original is usually the best. All right, so you want us to fire some more questions at you? We do have some here.
If you don't take the questions, you're fired. No, I'm kidding.
Let me ask a question. Now, you've mentioned Carlos Castaneda a number of times. Mm-hmm. I must admit that I was a huge fan of Castaneda's work from very early on, from back in the late 60s, early 70s. Prior to high school, actually, I started reading those books. And all through high school, let's put it this way, I utilized many of the techniques that were suggested in the books to do certain things. Found most of them didn't work. Some did. But I'm just wondering, now that we know much more about Castaneda and, what happened to the 10 City movement girls and the deaths that happened following his death, and allegations of academic fraud and that sort of thing. Where do you come down? Do you think that it's important that all this stuff that he talked about was true? Or do you feel that just the way he presented the information was enough to give you your jump start into thinking outside of the box, so to speak, and thinking more in a shamanic kind of way? Was the accuracy, is that an issue for you? Does that throw the baby out with the bathwater, that he probably made up a vast majority of his narrative after, let's say, Journey to Ixtlan, Tales of Power, and on? Where do you come down on that?
Let me put it to you this way. I'm pretty sure that the events that depicted in the Star Wars movies are all fictitious, not 100%, but I'm pretty sure they are all fictions. That doesn't mean I can't find some very valuable lessons.
Yeah.
Something that I can take away from that, and incorporate it into my worldview. That's the same with Castañeda. I really don't care if Don Juan existed or not, if it all came out. If it all came out of the head of his own head, then more power to him, because, there's still a lot of pretty valuable philosophical or even moral lessons that you can extract from his work. The idea of taking responsibility for your actions, of, adopting the warrior lifestyle, of always, thinking that you are a being that is going to die and because of that, you have to bring meaning to your actions and all that. That is valuable regardless of whether it's all a fabrication or not.
Yeah. I always got the impression the first two books were spot on, that he was actually experiencing those things. It's when he was, when the Nahual was brought in, Don Gennaro was brought in, I thought that's where it kind of started to veer off into, fiction. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it was fascinating. And it had a huge effect on a lot of people, sold a zillion books, I might add.
Yeah.
And I think it did change people's perspective about the potential magical nature of their reality. And it was very helpful for those of us that were experimenting heavily with psychedelics. I must say.
Not a lot of people remember him right now, but back in those days, he was one of the undisputable leaders of the counterculture movement,
Yeah.
And that brought about, whether we like it or not, to a lot of big social changes that are still reverberating into our culture to this day.
Well, he made it kind of fashionable and cool and stuff to be involved in research pertaining to Native American secret traditions and the types of shamanic practices that we now know go on all over the world and have for thousands and thousands of years. I think an offshoot of the Castaneda material, for instance, you can find in the ayahuasquero movement and psychedelic travel to Peru and other places, the Amazon, to imbibe in and have fun with DMT, dimethyltryptamine, which occurs, in like dopamine and other chemicals, occurs naturally in the brain.
Yeah.
And I just find that Castaneda's influence, he really subtly influenced a lot of progressive thinking, especially as it relates to psychedelics and spirituality, along with Terence McKenna. And there are others, obviously, that you could put in that category. But who do you see now as being the equivalent, let's say, for a young person coming up, wanting to get in touch with more of a psycho-spiritual side? Do you see anybody there that you're particularly taken by?
Well, I guess there are a lot of people who are trying to reach to the level of McKenna and all those before him. Maybe people like Daniel Pinchbeck,
right?
And all the guys involved in Reality Sandwich. But the problem is that maybe he will have to die in order to attain the popularity of McKenna. That was something that I proposed to Greg the other day. Maybe we have to make someone like Mac Tonnies, to turn him into a viral like guru in the net, the way that McKenna became much more relevant after he died than when he was still alive,
Yeah.
Now you can easily find like 1 million comments on the internet about Terence McKenna. You can find like 1,000 video clips on YouTube when you can hear him talk, and people who use his speeches, the audio maybe, in order to create some beautiful animation with their computer. So the guy is getting much more relevant in death than he was in life. In Buddhism, there's the notion of the bodhisattva, the realized master that is helping into the enlightenment of the rest of humanity. So maybe Terence McKenna, Alan Watts, and Robert Anton Wilson have become like bodhisattvas, digital gurus that are still living in the internet, and are spreading all these ideas into the younger generations. And maybe those ideas will elicit a huge social impact in the future. I think that is already happening right now with how the culture is moving forward into accepting the use of psychedelics and entheogens, not just demonize them. How in the United States, there's already 2 states who have legalized the recreational use of marijuana. In elsewhere in the country of Uruguay has fully legalized marijuana, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. I think that we are going to see like a new kind of psychedelic renaissance that would be like the wet dream of Timothy Leary.
Yeah, really.
I wanted to ask you something, RPJ, very quickly, and we have to break for the final segment. It's that fast, folks. Okay, what is the situation in Mexico? Because we always think of Mexico and drug cartels and everything. But what about marijuana? What happens to you if you're caught?
Do you want me to answer here, or should we go to the break?
Well, the question, I guess, would be whether we'd still see you after this happened if they found out what was going on. That would be it. By the way, on next week's show, we have Dr. Bruce Maccabee, a scientist who has investigated the Gulf Breeze, Florida UFO case and lots of others. He'll be answering your questions and talking about that next week on the show. Right now, we have one more segment left with Red Pill Junkie joining Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Independently leading the way for the nation. Compelling talk for every political persuasion. We are GCN.
If you want to get your website online and you need reliable service, first-class service at the lowest possible price, there's only one place to go. Well, DreamHost has a special promotion with our show where they'll offer you unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, one-click web apps such as WordPress, 24/7 support. You can save over $55. You want to know how? Go to dreamhost.com/radio, dreamhost.com/radio.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
This alert just came in. This special announcement is for business owners and leaders of organizations who've been waiting for the right time to build. General Steel has made it impossible to wait any longer with rock-bottom prices that could save you thousands. That's right, General Steel, America's leader in pre-engineered structures, is offering buildings at prices you will never see again. Don't miss these prices. A 50 by 100 for under $30,000. You heard right. That's 5,000 square feet under $30,000. Manufacturers, if you need a larger building, try a 100 by 100 commercial building for $129,000. You can't afford to rent with these prices. Imagine a 70 by 100-foot church building for under $69,000. With the economy improving and interest rates still at historic lows, you can't afford to wait. So call 866-91-STEEL. Lock in your price now. Take delivery in spring. 866-91-STEEL. That's 866-917-8335.
Curious about what comes next? Next is the feeling of vulnerability you get after you arrive home to discover your house has been ransacked by burglars. Fool the bad guys with a new improved fake TV. You asked for it, we listened, and we made our new fake TV 3 times brighter than our previous model. The brightness of our new fake TV is equivalent to a 40-inch TV. It simulates the color and motion of a real TV while you're away from home. And when burglars think someone is home watching television, they're likely to pass your house and move on to an easier target. The new, brighter fake TV is only $39.95 and includes free shipping. Go to faketv.com or call 1-877-5-FAKE-TV. That's 877-532-5388 or go to faketv.com. Fake TV, the burglar deterrent.
Ouch! My back is out again.
Hi, Dr. Ortman with Wellspring Spinal Care. If you're experiencing neck, mid, or lower back pain, this information is for you. One of the complaints that I hear is patients receive their typical adjustment, only having to repeat them as the pain returns. Putting the bones back in place is only half of the battle. At Wellspring Spinal Care, we have the entire solution. We use the NUCA approach, utilizing three-dimensional x-rays and gentle touch technology to deliver specific correction. We then design a custom nutritional supplement program which provides essential nutrients targeting the areas of concern. With a NUCA approach and proper nutrition, you'll be on your way to a faster and more permanent recovery. To get you on the road to wellness, visit drortman.com. That's drortman.com, or call us today, 952-303-9124. That's 952-303-9124. Wellspring Spinal Care, chiropractic done right.
Hello, this is Rosemary Ellen Guiley, and you're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
The Everly Brothers are not. Or maybe it is because one of the Everly Brothers is now dead. We're hearing what would happen if the one who's still living would try to harmonize with his dead brother. RPJ, Red Pill Junkie, joining Gene and Chris. And the question I asked him was about drug laws. In his home country, Mexico, if they catch you, what happens?
Depends how much they catch you with. And there have been several cases on young kids who have been planted with dope coming from maybe another airport in Peru, for example. So they come to the international airport in Mexico and they register their luggage, and they found this planted drug, and it can get you in a lot of trouble. But at the same time, I think there's definitely a move forward into having the discussion that of finally legalizing marijuana. Our former president of Mexico, Vicente Fox, is very adamant, a strong advocate into the legalization of marijuana. Even President Calderón, who was the one who started the push into the war against the cartels in 2006, by the end of his term, he went to the United Nations and he called for a serious address into the discussion of finally ending this pointless war on drugs that has nothing but, brought pain and suffering into many nations, including my own.
I find it very interesting that the two states that have legalized marijuana or cannabis in the United States, their two teams are going to the Super Bowl.
There you go.
Well, they're going to have brownies before they get into that game. You got to think about it.
Yeah.
Or will they have drug testing?
I think it's a no-no to get caught with cannabis in your system, but there are ways to get around it. I had my guitar player in my band in the 90s in Colorado was number 2 in the world as a wrestler. He's on the U.S. Olympic wrestling team, and he showed me a foolproof way to beat up his test with he would smoke a joint on the way in to get tested, and there is a way to get around that. So I guess Alex Rodriguez would be the example of somebody that didn't even think he'd ever get tested, much to his former Hall of Fame career. He's not going to make the Hall of Fame, but I think it's a prevailing view that is dying off with the generation prior to the baby boomers and even into the baby boomers. I think that there's much more tolerance, I think, among the younger generations, and we are seeing the polarizing of viewpoints. But I think the tide of tolerance is going to outweigh the reactionary, Bible thumper, super conservative types out there, of which I count myself as not one.
Nor do we have any here. All right, let's just move quickly through topics. We're almost out of time.
Yeah, what would you like to tell our listeners, RPJ? what words of wisdom, projects you're working on, things you'd like to see, wishes, wants, desires. Do you have anything that has been eaten away at yourself?
Well, in one of my latest blog posts for the Intrepid Magazine blog, which I titled, it is titled "Shift Happens," and it was the idea is that I would like to see a move forward into a more focus into the study of human consciousness, that maybe just is doing what the field has done for so many years, just focusing on trying to get a better UFO photograph or getting a better witness to go on the record about their sighting, or going to the next haunted house wearing, all these EMF detectors and night vision and saying, oh, what was that? I think that it's past time that we maybe, if we could finally prove that human consciousness is non-local, then maybe that will be like the key to open the Pandora's box into all these other phenomena. Maybe that will bring about a true paradigm change in our culture. Because I think that the materialistic concept is finally running its course. It has brought us a lot of time, nice things in our lives, like computers and internet and all that, but it also has caused a major wreck in our environment, with climate change and all that. Maybe we need to move forward, and maybe if we just found out something like that human consciousness is able to survive that, then maybe we wouldn't be so willing to slave ourselves for 50 or more years, trying to make a living, trying to keep it up with the Joneses or the Kardashians or whatever, and we will look to other interests, to expand our horizons.
Worthy goals. But we live in a world where people pretend that climate change does not exist. We have active messages about that in our forums, as you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that is one of the things that worries me the most right now. I think people are calling about peak oil or peak water. I think that right now the biggest threat to humanity is like peak trust. People have lost the trust in their official institutions. We don't trust our political leaders. We don't trust scientific organizations. We don't trust corporations. I remember that last year when there was this news about the big Russian meteor that crashed in this city, whose name I can't remember right now, that a big chunk of the Russian population didn't believe the story. If they thought it was just a fabrication. And I'm sure that maybe if tomorrow a group of NASA scientists announced that an asteroid is going to hit the Earth in 10 or 20 years, and we better do something about it to defend ourselves, otherwise we're going to suffer the fate of the dinosaurs, I bet you that 8 years from then, there will still be people thinking that it was the news is just a lie. It's just some kind of false flag conspiracy theory, and that's worrisome.
Well, I think if they announce tomorrow that ET is here, he is landing in spaceships, flying saucers are real, most people would say, okay, let me get back to watching The Real Housewives of L.A. or whatever the show is. Red Pill Junkie, tell our listeners where they can find more of the things you write about.
Well, the place where I hang the most is the Daily Grail, www.dailygrail.com. I'm also a weekly blogger. I have a weekly column called The Red Pills of the Week on Mysterious Universe, mysteriousuniverse.org. I also have semi-regular posts on the Intrepid Magazine blog, And I'm also a semi-regular guest on a podcast called The Grimerica Show, which I make with my good friends Darren and Graham who live in Canada.
Okay. Coming up next week on the Paracast, we'll be featuring Dr. Bruce Maccabee. He's a scientist who has studied extensively the Gulf Breeze, Florida UFO flap, and lots more next week on the Paracast. And Chris O'Brien has OurStrangePlanet.com. And very soon, StalkingTheHerd.com will be active because the book Stalking the Herd, as we speak, is at the printer. He's doing the make ready, which is a technical term, folks, and getting things ready for this humongous book. So place your order today. You can find us on Twitter. We're known as the Paracast. We are the Paracast on Twitter. You hear the live stream at GCNlive.com and now the BoostRadioNetwork.com. We're just about everywhere. And right here, Red Pill Junkie. Thank you for joining us this week on the Paracast.
Thank you so much for having me.
The Paracast, featuring Gene Steinberg and Christopher O'Brien, is a copyrighted presentation of Making the Impossible, Incorporated. Tune in next week for a new adventure in The Paracast.